Get ready for another episode of The Awake Space. I'm Lori Rivers, your host. And this is where you come for inspiration to help you with your aspirations and get some of the most important astrological information you can find on the internet to make sure you're up to date with the latest going-ons up there, because as above, so below. My goodness, June was quite the month. It just seemed to fly by. And man, I've been reading charts daily with hardly a break, and I'm pretty excited about that. But now it is July. I'll still be reading charts pretty much daily through most of the month. And it is my birthday month. Yes, I am a Cancerian. Somebody call me weak. Go ahead. Call me a crybaby. See what happens. This is where I come to be unfiltered. I have a Venus in Gemini in the 8th house. And I managed to be filtered pretty well on TikTok and YouTube. If you haven't found my YouTube channel, please go. Because I give more detailed information about current events. And right now we have Venus and Mars in Leo. And this weekend, especially not this weekend, over the next couple of days, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, we've got some pretty gnarly transits. Normally I would say Mars and Venus and Leo is buoyant and joyful and summer fun. And yet we have the Saturn-Uranus square. And it's one of those aspects that we're going to be dealing with, not just through 2021, but it appears throughout 2022 as well. It's the big theme of 2021. So if you're wondering why it was a shit show, that's why. Because we're changing on the inside to make sure we meet the external changes. And that's a lot to unpack. We're unpacking our social and cultural programming. Things are being undone to be rebuilt. And that started in 2020 with the Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn aspects. And now we're finishing up the demolition job over the next couple of years and assessing what we want to build. And if you're one of my patrons, I've been telling you, put your focus inwards. Look inside. Put it inside. Stop looking outside. You've got to find your joy. You've got to find what enlivens you. You've got to know your skills inside and out and assess what you need to learn so you can move forward. We're not going back to normal, folks. It's just not going to happen. And that fight for normalcy is what is going to cause a lot of issues. What else is going on? I'll be talking about that a little bit more here in the episode. I've got a videographer, though, lined up, and I'll be making some really cool astrology classes. Everything from the basics to more advanced subjects like astrology and business. I've been arguing for 17 years, 18 years that we need to be more entrepreneurial, and it isn't for any other reason but that, our structures are changing, and that includes corporate life, that includes retail, that includes all the things we know as normal in our economy. And learning how to be somewhat independent while collaborating with others is what's going to get us in some kind of a safe spot. And it seems almost counterintuitive because you're like, oh my gosh, if I'm entrepreneurial, I'm taking all these risks. And yes, we are, but being alive is a risk. And we really haven't had safety in institutions for a long time, And nobody stays at a job for 30 years, and salaries are going to not necessarily improve as we have the fight between those fighting for power and those fighting for quality of life. That's going to be interesting over the next couple of years. So I like to equip people for what is to come And not doomsaying. I think we're going to have some very necessary changes. And yet, they're going to be interesting to navigate when you're trying to operate on an old operating system. Let's use a computer analogy. If you've got a new computer and you're trying to run Windows 95 on it, it ain't going to work. Well, some of our social and cultural beliefs are the equivalent of Windows 95. And boy, does that thing freeze, catch, and crash. I know, I'm old. I get it. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about my birthday month as well. And we're going to have the patron shout outs, because without you guys, nothing happens. And I want to appreciate you guys big time. We're having an amazing bunch of conversations in the Discord. If you're lurking in the Discord, pipe up. We want to get to know you. Building community is another way we move forward. We need to communicate, collaborate, and play. And I get it if you're shy. Nobody's going to judge you. It's a safe place, and this Cancerian does not allow bullies. All right, let's get on with the rest of the show. Let's talk a little bit about the weekend. I keep saying weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'll talk about my birthday, because I love my birthday, and then patron shout-outs and whatever else comes to my mind, because this is a definite let Lori's Venus and Gemini have her way and not be structured and just run willy-nilly with her thoughts out of the 8th house. So I did a YouTube video the other night about Leo placements and the Saturn-Uranus square, but this actually affects and impacts absolutely everybody on the planet, regardless of your personal placements, because the Saturn-Uranus square is impacting absolutely everything for everyone. Big transits impact everybody, okay? In TikTok videos, we only have 60 seconds, 15 seconds. Even on YouTube, if I make too long a video, people just aren't going to watch it, right? People don't have attention spans, and that's okay. I'm not dissing on anything. I don't have the attention span to sit and watch a 2-hour video. I don't even watch TV or movies, so, I'd rather create content than consume it. So here's the deal. You want to look for where Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio are in your chart. So, I don't have any Leo placements. I have my midhaven. I don't consider that a placement. It is an angle in my chart. I know these internet astrologers, and I am now one of them, but internet astrologers often just lump everything together. They came up with this dominant thing. What are your dominants? And I'm like, that makes no sense astrologically. There's a lot of watered down astrology out there. And yeah, am I a purist? Kind of not. I'm exacting. Pardon my Pluto and Virgo on my South Node. Astrologers get that as the joke that it is. It's in the 10th house. But anyway, so I'm kind of a stickler for when it comes to accuracy. And nomenclature is important as well. But we'll live with what we've got. You guys are learning that stuff, so I'll run with it. It doesn't matter if it's a dominant placement or a dominant modality at all. You are going to be impacted by global transits. That's just the way it is. And astrology is everything. Everything is astrology. Astrology reflects absolutely everything in life. Everything has a chart, whether it's a barbecue, a tree, a human being, an institution, a political movement. Everything has a chart, because everything has a time it started and a time it ends. So the Saturn-Uranus square is all about restructuring and in innovating. And structure and innovation are butting heads, because we need to innovate fast. And our structures don't like that, and that means the power, authority, the people, society. Nobody likes change, even if it's for our own good. I know when I left my second marriage, because I needed to kind of be where I'm at now. And I couldn't do that from there. It wasn't grossly dysfunctional, as in I wasn't getting beaten Isn't that a funny low bar? But it wasn't helping me grow either. And I couldn't move forward. And so I had to leave. It was an excruciating decision because I too have social and cultural programming. It was an excruciating decision. It upset my family. It upset the people I care about. And it put me in a really stinky position. There wasn't a lot I could do to find my ground. I had to free fall. Don't try that at home, folks. I knew what my transits were. I knew I'd end up okay. I knew especially I'd end up okay if I let go of control. For those of you learning astrology, most of you are, that was a Pluto transit. It was also a Jupiter and Uranus transit. It was wildly scary. But I knew if I wanted to be even close to where I needed to be for 2020, it had to happen in 2016. And so I took the risks. I did the free fall. I risked looking crazy and did it. And that restructuring then put me in a good stead now. And I'm still impacted by the Saturn-Uranus square, by the way. But I'm writing it creatively. I tried talking about this for years and years in non-astrological terms, meaning I translated the astrology into everyday English. It did not make me look less crazy, folks. There were a handful of people who listened, and they're surfing pretty well right now, and I'm grateful to them for that. So here's the deal. This Leo energy, Mars right now is opposing Saturn and squaring off with Uranus. This now turns that Saturn-Uranus square into a T-square. This is big energy. Right after I wrote the extended forecast for the moon in Aries, and yes, the moon is in Aries nonetheless during this, training off with the Leo placements, sextiling Saturn, energizing it. That's a lot of energy. And right after, people put in the headlines to me. I don't go look at the news much to validate my predictions. People send me what validates the predictions. So I predicted we'd see everything from explosions to extremism. And in LA, right after the moon moved into Aries, the bomb squad screwed up. And it blew up real good in a South LA neighborhood. You can go check the news stories on that. And there was other stuff. There were lightning storms and things that started right as the moon went into Aries. And that was just last night, things are going to increase. And Saturday itself is going to be pretty gnarly. Thursday, Friday, not Saturday. It's going to be pretty gnarly. And be like, what kind of astrologer are you that can't remember the days? I have Venus in Gemini. That's the type of astrologer I am. I have to back it up every once in a while. And I have a Cassini. My Sun and my Mercury are combust Cassini, which means they're right on top of each other. So my brain often goes faster than my mouth can keep up. If you have that problem, that might be why. So this is what we're doing. We're looking at the Saturn-Uranus square with the Leo opposition. And so first it's Mars, and then it's followed up by Venus. Venus playing it out, and that goes more towards the 8th and the 9th into the new moon, 7th, 8th, 9th, into the new moon in Cancer, which will be loosely opposed to Pluto. I was looking at that last night, and that's going to be some really interesting startup energy. Like, we're going to see that there's no way back at that point to certain old things in our lives, certain old structures, certain relationships, certain dynamics. I'll get more up on Patreon on the new moon. I will make sure all the patrons get a new moon forecast. And the reason for that is I think this is going to be a sizable event. I know there's a lot of astrologers talking about the U.S. Pluto return because they're using the Sibley chart. I talked about that in the last episode because I'm a political analyst and anthropologist as well. as an astrologer, and I'm just going to tell you, no, it's the Pluto return of the freaking revolution. I don't think we're going to have a rerun, though. A lot of people do, but they're short-sighted and they don't really understand how history moves. And I don't think this is going to be anywhere close to the same, except in theme. But we're having to let go of stuff that doesn't work. And that includes inequality, that includes systemic injustice, that includes a whole lot of things. But in order to get where we want to go, everybody has to do that on the inside first. And that's kind of what this time period is about. You're being undone. You're not wrong. You're being undone. It's a crazy kind of growth. You're letting go of a lot of things. You're having to think differently. You're having to feel differently. You're having to process differently. You're having to respond differently to life. I hear you. I know it's hard. I've done it. And even I'm having to do it more and more and more. Just last week, a lot of people really liked that 50% off discount that I did on personal readings. And I got flooded. And it was a little overwhelming. It was a good thing. It's a good problem to have. But I had to adjust into it. I'm the only person I know who really, really started their business from nothing. Not this one, not the astrology, but 18 years ago now. I literally started with $30 out of my grocery budget. That was the nothing I started from, and I built a sustainable business from it as a business consultant later. But each step of the way, I grew it and grew it and grew it and grew it and learned and made mistakes and failed forward. But I never made a loss. 1 year I made a loss. But 1 year out of almost 20, I took a loss. And I was very prudent, and I didn't listen to a lot of the fly-by-night people, and I just plugged away at it so that I was really prepared for now. But emotionally, I wasn't prepared for it. And that is the Saturn-Uranus square right there in a nutshell. That's what it is. It's taking out the structures in you that don't work. And so that was where I was at with it. And for me, it's hitting my third house and my sixth house. So reworking how I work, innovating how I work, not doing things the same way, innovating, working on inspiration. That's all Uranus. Systematizing what I do in a better way. And I will tell you, Saturn retrograde is in our favor. Now, it was why most people were feeling pretty down, lethargic, and tired during the Mercury retrograde period. It wasn't Mercury retrograde making you tired. It was Saturn retrograde. But Saturn retrograde right now is our biggest friend, because with this Leo opposition, with the Mars and Leo opposition to Saturn squaring off with Uranus, whatever crappy stuff happens over the next couple days, just remember it could be worse, and that would be if Saturn was direct. That's why I don't think we're going to have a huge earthquake, because Saturn's retrograde. Every time I've looked at charts, I thought, ooh, that could be seismic, and I take a look, and then nothing really happens. There might be a small one, like under 4 and under, 4.5 and under. And I know if you don't live in an earthquake zone, you're like, what do you mean 4 is small? Well, live on the West Coast. If you've ever experienced a 6.0 or higher, then you know. And so I think the Saturn retrograde is kind of sparing us a little bit on that. And I think that's a good thing. So see, it's not all bad news. And honestly, this change isn't bad news. It leads to something good. It's just really freaking uncomfortable getting there. And that's why I'm asking everybody to turn their attention within. So you want to look to where Leo is in your chart. You want to look to where Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio are. Funny enough, this is all hitting me in the ascendant and the midheaven. Those are important angles in a chart. And but it's so far so good, But I've spent a lot of years learning to respond versus be reactive. Last night was a great example. I don't get a lot of trolls on Twitter, or not Twitter, on TikTok. I used to be on Twitter a lot. I'm not on Twitter as an astrologer. Don't look for me. The astrology on Twitter is just so heinously bad. I would be fighting all the time. I have a Sagittarius Mars. Don't judge. I get squirrely when I see bad astrology. And then I get called a gatekeeper, and then I tell people, damn right I am. If you want to learn astrology, I'll be glad to teach it. But I'm not going to pander to bad astrology. And I do know the difference. But anyway, again, this is me unfiltered. So if you don't like it, it's okay. You can go to the places where I filter or just not listen. But anyway, so we're looking at, on TikTok, I got this troll, and it was really funny because I almost did a video and stirred up drama, and it was right after the moon moved into Aries, so it was like trining my Mars, so, I was ready to duke it out online. And then I got tired. I had had a full day of readings. I'd helped a lot of people see themselves, understand their timing, know themselves in a different way. It's not like I tell anybody anything they don't know. I tell them things they've never told anybody else, because that's how astrology works. If you're being told something you don't know, it's not a good astrologer. We're not there making stuff up. Anyway, I was gonna fight with that person, and then I just felt tired. I had this emotional fatigue, and I was like, there are 200 comments on that video and one stupid one. I am going to delete the comment and block the person. And that's what I did. I responded versus reacted, because honestly, when I thought about it really quick, I was like, this is not the energy to get into a pissing match. This is not going to end up in my favor. I'm going to look like a bitch. Which, on one hand, I don't care if I look like a bitch, because I can be bitchy. I'm not going to lie. I'm a Cancer. I am a Cancer sun and a Scorpio rising. Yes, I can be that bitch. But at the same time, one of my goals is to reassure people during very challenging times. And if I'm constantly bitchy, I'm going to lose trust. And that's important to me, that people trust me with information, and that I'm giving accurate information out in a world where astrology is, so poorly discussed. And I want people who are interested in knowing and searching and trying to figure their lives out, wondering why all hell is breaking loose, to have a safe place to land. And if I'm being a bitch, it's not a safe space. And so I chose to be smart instead of momentarily gratified. And trust me, it would have been gratifying. And I thought, wow, that's a big change, because years ago, not only would I have gotten into the fight, I would have been devastated that somebody accused me of being purely driven for profit. I send people to my Patreon, my YouTube, my readings, so I can help them. I can't help you if you're not in front of me, and I can't do this full time for free. I have bills to pay. I have my own life I have to take care of. And like a lot of women my age, because I'll be 52 this month, as smart and talented and educated as I was, and I was the first woman, I get a little teary with this, I was the first woman in my mom's family to get a college degree. I was my aunt was the first woman to live past 40, actually past 36. Her mother was the first woman to live past 31. On my mom's side, women were used as brood mares. And so for me to have any kind of independence, my cousins kind of laid the tracks. They were the first ones to either not get married or get divorced and then be independent, but they struggled financially. I was next in line on that, and being able to do this full time independently is a huge deal on my mom's side of the family. Like, if I can get to a place where I'm not just scraping by, I have pulled every female ancestor forward. And as 4 generations from, 3 generations up from me, I'm the 4th generation from her, she was sold to her husband. She was 14 years old. That was my great grandma. And that was in 1888. She was sold for less than $20, which was a lot of money. But when you look at family patterns, understand that those were a lot to break. And I have a 4th house North Node, so healing my maternal line, being a Cancer, this has been huge. And this is part of the Saturn-Uranus square for me, is undoing the narrative, because Saturn's sitting in my 3rd house, undoing the narrative of don't be too much, don't be ambitious, don't be one of those women, be self-sacrificing, stand by your man, all that bullshit. And so I would have been devastated by the comment that I got last night, just a few years ago. I would have thought, how could they think that of me? And now I'm like, I restarted my life at 46 years old. I had given up my economic independence to help somebody else with their career, and I didn't get a shitload out of it. So if I seem ambitious, yeah, I have like 15 years, 15 tops, most likely 10, to ensure that I'm not a burden on my children. So, yeah, I am. But I'm sure as hell going to pull a lot of people up with me, because that's what I believe. I have an 11th house Libra moon. If you think I'm not going to help people, think again. And so it was good to know that, yes, it does bother me a little bit, or I wouldn't be talking about it. I'm going to be honest about that. But it didn't devastate me. And that was a really nice place to see where I'd grown. And this, I want you to take the story, and I want you to look at, where have you grown in the last 2 years? How are you different in a good way? Don't look at what you lost. We all lost. What did you gain? What do you know about yourself you didn't know? How are you changing and innovating? What are your inspirations now? And you might be in the middle of deconstruction and it's hard to see, but take count of the little things, the things that don't seem important. And that's how you ride this wave, because things are gnarly right now. Emotionally, there's all kinds of feels up, and there will be really reactive people. And if you're a patron, please make sure you read that email that came through, or go onto Patreon and read the post. If you're not, I'm just going to tell you, there is all kinds of stuff. In fact, I'll tell you what, this is already a long segment. I'm going to move into the patron shout outs, and then I'm going to read you what I wrote on Patreon, because all my patrons have already got it. Okay. So it's, I will give you my forecast for June 30th through July 2nd, or July 1st. No, July 2nd. Sorry. My brain. I was thinking, June 30. Yeah, there we go. So let me read that, and let me get that done. And then we'll do patron shout outs. I'll read that thing, and then we're going to talk about my birthday special, because I love birthdays, and this is my birthday month. All right, I am honored. We have had massive growth in Patreon, and here are some of our newest patrons. We've got Jennifer B, Annie, Jessica B, Kelts, Omar, Nicole, Lana, Chris, Megan, Erica, Steph, Hannah, Mikey, Benjamin, Evan, Sonia, Iris, Paul, Victoria, Ella, Sarah, Catabulous, what a great name, Alicia, Julie, Fastidious Star, Katie, Megan, Nikolai, Jennifer, Joanna, Maitland, Molly, Jennifer G, KCR, Jasmine C, Chelsea, Carrie, Rachel, Moody. That's a lot of people, folks. That's a lot of people. Super exciting. Thank you all. Let's look in and check in Discord. And there were some really touching messages in there. We've got under the horoscope thread, there were some really interesting posts after last night. This is from Becca. I read the horoscope, and not an hour later, I was in 2 dramatic situations. The reactive people being reactive part was especially true. Thank you for your guidance, because I focused inward, followed my intuition, and handled both situations without feeling completely energetically drained. I had a family member poke fun at astrology last week because they don't understand it. There's so much value in knowing a horoscope, just like a weather forecast. Tonight, I felt like I had the right tools to help myself and others as well. Aries Sun and Rising, by the way. Wow. That really touched me to know that what I'm writing is helping people out. Somebody else right away, this was like an hour or so after the moon moved into Aries, ingressed into Aries. Somebody posted that an unexpected explosion happened in South LA as the bomb squad tried to detonate homemade explosives. Really kind of messed up a neighborhood. That bummed me out. Other people were reporting lightning. Last night was a doozy for me. This is from Julia. For me, insane, intense communication out of nowhere where new truths were revealed, difficulties over boundaries, and massive realizations, all whilst crazy lightning storms started the second the moon entered Aries. You just have to laugh at how astrology manifests. We also have our Astro Classroom Fun, where we're doing each planet by the sign and house placement as gifs or memes. We have our astrology meme thread, which is pretty funny. And I've got a content suggestion thread. So please go in and ask questions. In general, you can ask me anything about astrology and I will answer it. I love being in the Discord server. My Venus in Gemini is very happy. Thank you to every single one of my patrons. Your support is absolutely essential. It's helping me grow. It's helping me know that what I have to offer is helping people. And that makes me teary. So thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read what I wrote to my patrons just in the extended forecast. The rising sign horoscopes are always part of that. I do have to admit they were kind of funny in a sick and twisted way, but remember my Venus is in the 8th house and it's in Gemini, so I do have a little bit of a sense of humor. Anyway, it's a little morbid. So here it is, and remember all dates and times are in Pacific Daylight Time, which is -7 GMT. Please translate for your time zone. If you have a smartphone, you can translate the time. July is my birthday month, and I love birthdays, so I'm offering $55 off personal readings. Use your code, save $55 when you book here, and I'll get that out in an email as well. New classes are on the way and some fun surprises, so stay tuned. And as always, if you want one of your longer readings, patrons get 20%. Not going to read the code here. If you're on Discord, join in the fun and don't be afraid to ask questions. No one will bite, I promise. If you're not there, join us using the Discord link posted there. So, Moon and Aries forecast. Okay, everyone, hold on to your hats. The roller coaster ride is about to get bumpy. The moon enters Aries on June 30th, and we go from dreamy Pisces into great balls of fire Aries. This means you get a huge boost of energy, and there's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of volatility. Reactive people are going to be highly reactive, and more so than usual because the moon will be bouncing energy to Venus and Mars in Leo. Now, I did an astrology alert about this on TikTok and YouTube. This ain't no joke. Seriously, we're going to have everything from people acting the fool on the low end to stuff blowing up. Thunder and lightning and fires will start, both accidental and arson. There's going to be some kind of big bold drama, and I, for one, am grateful that Saturn is retrograde for this, because otherwise it would be way worse. Remember, this is mass consciousness. If you take your consciousness into your own hands and practice mindfulness, you can have an amazingly creative time. But if you like to get sucked into drama or stir the pot, well, it's going to get pretty darned hot. Careful, the sun is in Cancer, and it's going to produce steam, and steam burns really hurt. Am I speaking literally? Well, sure, we might see some accidents at Yellowstone and the geysers, but this is mostly metaphorical. Drama is going to have consequences. Stay out of it as much as you can. The moon enters Aries around 6:30 p.m. Pacific time on June 30th and sends some pretty good energy to Venus, and people are going to be showing off and strutting their stuff. That part is good. It's an excellent time to get marketing and talk yourself up. However, by Wednesday morning, there's tension as the moon squares off with the sun. This is creative energy. And I think I meant Thursday morning. Sorry, guys. This is creative energy, but it's also emotionally fraught. It's tense, it's uncomfortable, and there's a push between individualism and collective well-being. Basically, expect some protests around masks, or even more workers walking off the job in the food industry, which I think is a good thing. I didn't put that in. It's also going to be the start of some weather that's really just volatile. As the moon is pushing at the sun, Mars is opposing Saturn and squaring off with Uranus. This is crazy stuff. Expect to see in the news more failed infrastructure, sinkholes, buildings with issues, collapses and demolition, possible mass violence, protest or fighting, extremism of all kinds in the name of family, nation, and pride. Also highly possible, or a high possibility of visible issues to deal with children abuse and violence. If you know someone or have someone in your life who's prone to violence, don't be around them over the next few days. What can you do? And this is really important. Remember what you can do. 1, meditate. 2, take a walk or a bath. 3, turn off sensationalist news or videos. 4, listen to soothing music. 5, make art. 6, focus inward. Your outrage isn't going to get anything accomplished. 7, make a list of things you can do. So if you have an issue or a cause that you believe in, instead of just getting upset, find something you can do about it. You know, if you can write a letter, make a phone call, participate in some way, find something beyond just releasing of energy. You want to put that energy to productive use. Otherwise, you're going to feel disempowered, and that doesn't help anybody or anything right now. Okay? So, on the 2nd, the moon is square Pluto. This is always a big time each month when Aries squares off. Aries moon squares off. There will be something big that goes boom. With the T-square involving Mars, Saturn, and Uranus, there is an intentional kaboom. This will be big news. It can happen before, during, or after the moon opposing Pluto, probably hours before. This could be a big explosion, a fight, a big push, or even nationalistic violence. It could be the U.S. bomb somewhere overseas, or all of the above. We can also expect to see communication disruption, power grid issues, telecommunications issues, chemical spills, forest fires, and all kinds of mayhem. Weather, dry, hot, or freaking humid, more tropical storms, tornadoes, or unseasonable weather. Outrageous lightning storms and property damaging weather of all kinds. Seismic activity. If Saturn wasn't retrograde, I'd expect a 7.0 or higher, but my guess is we'll see multiple earthquakes ranging between 4.5 and 6.0 at the highest. Have your kits ready and hope it doesn't happen. This is global, not for any one particular location. So just look around the globe. Crypto, it could be a volatile couple of days. Don't fall for any jumps in price. Over the next few days, there's going to be a possible spike, but it will correct shortly. Not trading advice, just use caution in trading. And so that is the extended forecast. I just want you to remember there's always something you can do before you react. Just like I from the previous segment, I talked about, I blocked and deleted the comment. I blocked the person, deleted the comment, instead of getting into it for that momentary rush of vindication and the how dare you. I pulled in my energy and went, I'm going to put it somewhere else. I'm going to put it more productively. And honestly, I was tired. I went to bed. I got some good rest. If I would have gotten upset, I wouldn't have slept. And then who's that hurting? Is it hurting that person? No, it would be hurting me. So it's bringing our energy inside. Okay. So, and then I woke up nice and early. I was able to record a podcast to give you guys a heads up for stuff. And that's pretty cool. So that's the moon in Aries, June 30th through July 2nd. I'll have Taurus up before Taurus comes along. It will be another interesting, volatile time because the moon in Taurus every month conjuncts Uranus, or Uranus, both pronunciations are correct. I say Uranus on TikTok because I don't want the Uranus jokes from the teenagers. So this is big energy, and it matters. And all those people are like, I don't do outer planets because the Greeks didn't use them. Well, that's great that we're not living in ancient Greece. We have these planets visible to our consciousness. And so that's why I use them. And that is why this is a roller coaster year. And things speed up. Things start to speed up now. The end of this year, we're going to be at Christmas before we know it. And you want to prepare towards Christmas time. This is really big. Every week, if you shop weekly, get a little extra than what you need. Okay? And I'm not talking toilet paper. I'm just, you probably want to get some camping gear of some kind. I think we're going to have some power outages and stuff like that, and that's special in the winter. So make sure that you have stuff. You don't have to hoard. Just be prudent. Just be prepared, because we're in a time of change, and being prepared will help you. All right, next segment is my birthday segment, and I'm excited about that. So, and remember, there's links in the description, but let's go to my birthday because that's more fun. July is my birthday month. I love birthdays. I have always loved birthdays. So, believe it or not, you've heard me talk. I was singing myself a happy birthday on my first birthday. It's one of my big flexes. I amuse myself. But anyway, I turned 52 this month. I turned 52. And I was thinking, what do I want to do as a fun thing for my birthday when it comes to the awake space, when it comes to woke astrology? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do another discount, but I'm not going to do the 50% off, but I am going to do $55 off natal readings. So that's the personal reading, $55 off. And you use the code in the description of this video. I'm going to do another e-blast of my mailing list. So if you're not on my mailing list, which I don't send a whole lot of emails there. If you're a patron, you get a lot of emails from me because I'm giving forecasts every 2.5 days and updates. But if you're on my website, that's where I'm going to be sending out the code as well. So it's $55 off personal readings, which is super cool. And if you want one of the longer readings, there's a 20% discount. So I can't discount those as far because when they're longer, and a lot more energy goes into those because I'm consulting with you it's like not just reading your chart, I'm consulting on best timing and how to put your energy out there and where you can go and what you can do. Sometimes there's a little business consulting, which, by the way, some of you have asked for business coaching, etc. That is coming down the line. I'm hoping to have those programs put together and ready for you to sign up for, hopefully in the next week or so. Give me a minute. Part of my restructuring with the Uranus-Saturn square or the Saturn-Uranus square to be correct, is scheduling my time a little differently. So that's there. Also, fun birthday news is I'll be creating some really great classes and programming in a more artistic style. I've been teaching online classes since 2008-9. And 87% of people never finish the classes they buy. Never. And one of the reasons I've realized is they're boring. They're boring. And so these are going to be somewhat cinematic. I know. I am going to run with my Leo Midhaven on this. These are going to be really cool. And I've got a young videographer I'm going to be working with. And I want you to just imagine for a moment that it would be like one of the millennials' favorite edutainment shows. Yeah, it's going to be edutainment, which totally thrills me because, this is fun and all because it's gratifying. I'm unfiltered and I just ramble, but I'm also a bit artsy fartsy if you hadn't noticed from some of my TikToks. And so I'm indulging myself, making some quality lessons. They're not going to be super long each lesson, but they'll be action-packed and they will be value-filled, and those will be up on a platform. So there'll be recorded classes, and then people will meet with me maybe once a month to, that kind of thing. Different than the Patreon. So some of that's going to be our astrological ABCs. And some of that is going to be like Living by Luna, which is one of the classes I teach on Patreon. And then Cosmic Surfers will be more advanced astrology, where we get into some of the mechanics and then some of the philosophy as well. And I'm super excited about that. Plus the business and astrology. That's super important. And I know a bunch of you want to mentor under me. If you're a young astrologer you don't have to be a young astrologer, but you're wanting to learn how to effectively run an astrology practice, I will be having that mentorship put together as well. So there's lots in the works, but I love my birthday. And so all of July, even after my birthday, because I always think that July ends at July 21st. I was born the day the men were coming back from the moon. So I've always loved that as a little kid. I thought that was the bestest. I still do. I'm a moon baby. $55 off. That just makes it around $100. So, and trust me, you've never had a natal reading like this. Most of what is done is kind of cookbook astrology, where people have not had the experience. You get 23 years of professional experience and 26 years of astrological experience and thousands of chart readings. So if I could just take the video of people's faces while I read their charts and make it into a montage, it would be hilarious, but I don't break confidentiality. So there we go. All right, folks. I'm going to love you and leave you with this. This is a long episode. Be careful this weekend, be careful this weekend in general. I keep saying it, so it must be true. Just take care. Be careful. All right? And respond. Pull back your energy. Don't give your value to other people. You can watch more about tips for the Leo Venus and Mars action over the next few days, actually over the month of July, by heading over to YouTube, and you can look at that link in the description below. Take care.